Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle And in this video, we got to talk about how today is the day when Swaggle becomes a real collector. This is Swaggle comic book bar mitzvah, so to speak. I've become a real man, a true man's collector, because today we have an unboxing for a pre-code horror grail, my very first pre-code horror grail, so I can now be a real collector. So in this video, I'm going to do my unboxing. I'm going to talk about how I was able to kind of determine the price, talk about, why I've decided to target this book, talk a little bit more about pre-code horror books in general, share with you guys, what are some of the factors that go into making a PCH book valuable out there in the market. And then at the end of the video, if you guys, stay around for a little bit of time, I'll have a very little special announcement that I am very excited to share with you guys. So that is what is going on in today's video. But before I get into it, if you guys could drop me a like or comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, doing those things I appreciate. But let's get into this video here today. Now, of course, we got to do the fun thing here. We got to do the unboxing. Now, if you guys know, this is a Heritage box. I had to win this book off of a Heritage auction, and I'm super, super excited. This is a pre-code horror book that I've had my eye on for quite some time. And as you guys know, with a lot of the pre-code horror books or even Golden Age books in general and stuff, you can't just go on to eBay and find them. You have to wait some time. So I felt like Baron Zemo out there. I studied you for over a year. I watched you. I've been waiting. I've been looking for this book, waiting for it to come online, come on auction, find it at a claim sale, find it in the wild, and I had not been able to do so until just a few weeks ago, and I finally saw that it was coming up for auction at Heritage, and I basically told myself, I don't care what the price is, I'm winning this book, because this is the one that speaks to me. I mean, there are a ton of Golden Age, pre-code horror books that I absolutely love. I think the covers are amazing. But, I personally still have a nostalgia for Silver Age Marvel and things like that. So it's going to have to be a book that really speaks to me for me to want to spend the money it takes to pick up some of these books. And this one did just that. It spoke to me in a way that I felt like, this represents me in terms of my life and where I want to be. And on top of that, it is done by one of the hottest pre-code horror artists out there in the market. But without further ado, let me reveal the book first. The book I was able to pick up for myself is this amazing Chamber of Chills number 21 in a 6.5 grade. The classic skull skeleton typing on the typewriter. One of my favorite pre-code horror books out there in the market. Now, if you guys know, this particular cover was done by Lee Eliash. If you guys know Lee Eliash, he's famously done a ton of pre-code horror covers. Most notably, probably Chamber of Chills number 19. That's probably the cover you guys are very, very familiar with the woman who's got the wine glass over her face, and we see the skull cover underneath. That is truly an amazing book and one that has absolutely blown up in the market. And for me, I had been looking at different cover art and cover artists that I really, really liked, and this one just always spoke to me. I mean, if you guys know, outside of my Swaggle persona, I am a writer. I spend a lot of time in front of this computer just writing, typing away, and a skeleton just dying at the typewriter, just that feels like me, just working into the wee hours of the night, and just smoking a cigarette. I don't know, something about it just spoke to me. I love the purple, the deep purple of this one. Perfect grade for me, 6.5, super happy to get this book at that grade. And on top of that, very, very cool. This is actually, as you can see right there on the label, this is actually a file copy, which means that this book, this particular copy, belonged to some publication company. Now, I don't actually know if this is Harvey Publishing that did, in fact, have this as their file copy. A little hard to really understand those details. Maybe the file copy belonged to some other publication company, but regardless, this was the book that sat in their files as being on record for them for Chamber of Chills number 21, and that gives this book a little extra bonus for me in terms of the value of it, or having it be just a little bit more special overall. Now, I don't know why this book is a 6.5. It is a beautiful copy. I mean, the grade is actually, I'd say, pretty harsh. Actually, well, I know why it is a 6.5. I can tell that this book has never been cleaned or pressed, but there are a couple little stains right here in the corners. You can see up there. Definitely a stain kind of in the back right there. Sorry for the camera focus. Stain right there. And then also a little bit of a stain over here as well. But I feel like if it was clean and pressed, you can probably get that stuff out. The graders notes did say that the stains were kind of in the book as well. So maybe this is something like someone spilled bleach on the corner cover or something like that. But outside of that, those two little stains in the back corner, maybe just a tiny little bit of spine wear. This book is immaculate. But I kind of wanted to dig into some of the numbers with you guys and talk a little bit about some other pre-code horror books. How did I make the determination of what I was going to pay for this book? And what have I learned in my studying about pre-code horror books that makes certain ones more desirable in the market? Maybe we can kind of break it down for you guys here today. So, of course, the book I got is this Chamber of Chills 21. Beautiful cover. I love the purple. Everything about it, just the aesthetics just speaks to me specifically. But what I like about it is that it is a Lee Eliash cover. He's done a lot of great pre-code horror covers. And, this is basically what I had to go off of. The information here, 40 copies on the census or 40 universal grades, 43 total graded, which means, a handful of restored books. And prior to my sale, which you can see right here at the 6.5 that I got for $1,320, better price than I thought that I was going to have to pay, to be honest. Prior to that, the only other sale I had to go off of was this one here earlier in January of 2022, a 9.0 sold for $45.60. So to me, I was like, okay, if the 9.0 sold for $45.60, I'm bidding on a 6.0. And then prior to that, the 9.0 in 2017 sold for $1,076. What kind of metrics can I use to figure out what I'm going to have to pay for it? So I had to look throughout the various grades here. I saw that a 7.5 in 2018 went for $1,375. And then going down here, there's not really much data to see other than the 6.0 went for $775 in 2020. So in my mind, you just kind of had to do this kind of napkin math and figure out, okay, if it's a book that hasn't come up for auction in quite some time, what are we seeing with some of the other numbers out there in the market? And what you typically can find out when you're comparing like other grades and other sales, especially when you factor in the 2021 comic book boom, you will find that they will very likely double in price if they go up for auction today. So that was sort of in my mind where I was thinking about it, where, I saw the 6.0 sold around that $700 something range. And I was basically thinking, all right, this book is definitely going to go for $1,600 to $1,800. It's a little bit higher of a grade. It's a file copy, a pedigree copy, and also, we are 2 years removed into this comic book boom. And I was actually really, really thankful that I only got it for $1,320, which I thought was an absolute steal. And as you can see here, this is not a book that comes up often. I mean, mine was purchased 9/20/2022. You had the one earlier in January, the 9.0 that sold for $4,500. You had this restored copy in September of 2021 that went off of eBay, a 1.0 restored for $100. If I found that book or if I saw it on eBay, I personally would have bought it for sure, because I've been looking at this book since 2021. That's actually one that I did miss. And then prior to that, you didn't have a sale for this thing until August of 2020, the 6.0 that I'm talking about that went for $775. So, you really are at the mercy of whatever the market is, selling at that time. Or, maybe you can find a book, on a Facebook group, or maybe you can find it on a forum or something like that, or Instagram. But it is definitely hard to find this stuff. And that's kind of what makes, pre-code horror a lot of fun overall, is the hunt. We all really enjoy the hunt, and it is a true hunt to find some of these books. But let's also talk a little bit about, some of the aesthetics that make pre-code horror books valuable. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am some guru when it comes to understanding, pre-code horror books and what makes them valuable and which ones are desirable. But I have spent the better part of a year and a half listening to other experts in the field and understanding the covers and really studying the artists. And so I feel like I'm now able to kind of at least speak to it on a certain kind of level. And I think the three key factors that makes PCH books desirable are: one, that it has a femme fatale or a damsel in distress on the cover; two, that it has a skull on the cover; and then three, that it has a cover that is just shocking or absolutely gruesome. And this book right here has two of the three. And of course, the first one we have to talk about here is Chamber of Chills 19. Now, I personally think that this is the most notable pre-code horror book. This is the one that everybody, has seen this cover. It's made famous by the Misfits album that came out years back. And honestly, this book right here is outstanding art. There's a reason that people like to get this tattooed on their body. I mean, it is incredible. This woman is beautiful. It is classy. It's a book that you can not only just kind of have in your comic book collection, but you could genuinely have this in your game room as art. But covers you may not want to display that are also celebrated by comic book collectors are the gruesome ones. And speaking of that, another Lee Eliash cover that I think, a lot of people know out there is, of course, this Black Cat number 50. Just this total gruesome cover, taking the radiation pill or whatever it is, and his face dissolving right there. Now, this is obviously a very shocking book. I mean, I think when you see it in person, you're like, oh my god, like I can't believe they used to draw this way back in the day. I can totally understand why the Comics Code Authority came in and said, hey, we can't be selling this to kids. But these are the types of covers that I think people really like because of the fact that it is so shocking. Additionally, in terms of gruesomeness, this Crime Suspense Stories number 22. I mean, you have a decapitated head right there. There's Crime Patrol number 16, kind of another one that is, not only historic in the sense that this is sort of the book that kind of kicked off the turn to doing, pre-code horror books. But of course, you had the kind of the classic damsel in distress right there, seeing the hand that is turning on the light. Additionally, a book like Venus 19, another book where it's like a skeleton going on to this damsel in distress, another book that is extremely expensive in the market. But these are the types of aesthetics that people really do like when it comes to pre-code horror covers. And then additionally, you have a Punch Comics number 12, just a great skull cover, another book that is a holy grail out there in the PCH market. Anytime you have the skeleton on the cover, that's definitely going to be something super desirable. And additionally, Punch Comics 11, I think that this one is really interesting, another early skull cover. And a lot of people might even argue that this is a book that, predates, some of the EC books. And that might be the first, kind of pre-code horror book out there in the market, which I think is really interesting that, all these years later, the meta or things that, we argue about in the comic book community can actually be debated, can actually be discussed. And those are the type of books that, people like to kind of spec on, because if the tide ever turns to where it's like, hey, that particular comic is the first pre-code horror book, that, who knows, that might, that narrative might catapult that book to be the ultimate holy grail for a lot of collectors out there in the market. I mean, it's already an expensive book, but those are kind of the interesting elements. And one of the reasons why I decided to pick up Chamber of Chills 21, not only does the cover just speak to me, the aesthetics, the colors, everything like that, but I like the fact that it's got, it's a skull cover, so to speak. It's done by Lee Eliash, so there's a historic precedent for it as an artist, and it's also a file copy, which makes it really cool. Well, that is all for this video, at least, in terms of me talking about my new pre-code horror book. I've officially become a true collector, a real collector. At the beginning of the video, I told you that I might have a little special announcement. Now, this is just a pre-announcement, just a little bit of a tease to you guys. But as you guys know, like I said, I am a writer, as I said right here when I like this cover, and I actually wrote a comic book. And when the book is actually completed, I will be launching a Kickstarter campaign to see if you guys would be willing to support, the publishing of it. I'd love to have physical copies of it and be able to send it out to anyone that likes it. And I'm going to show you guys some pages right now because I'm really, really excited about it. I mean, I don't want to show too much, but it is kind of a Lovecraftian pulp adventure, a throwback to kind of that pre-code horror aesthetics, detectives, Agatha Christie, Indiana Jones, that sort of thing. Here you can see one of the pages right here. The art is done by Santiago Espina. Absolutely incredible art, if you ask me. I am so blown away with the type of work that he's done, but very, very noir, very Lovecraftian. Super excited about this book overall. Just the aesthetics and the art. I'm really, really excited. So we're currently coloring the book right now. And then we are going to be shortly working on the letters. But these are some of the pages I wanted to show you guys. A little bit of a rat eating a finger right there, which I think is pretty cool overall. So that's kind of, something that I wanted to tease to you guys. I will be launching a Kickstarter campaign for it soon. And I really, really hope you guys might consider supporting it. I am super, super proud of the work. It is my first technical comic book written work. So I am excited to, kind of realize that dream. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was my little special announcement. That was me picking up my first pre-code horror book right here, Chamber of Chills 21. Thank you guys so much for watching. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next video.